Hi guys, my name is Becky Page and I'm a Diamond Ambassador with Plexus Worldwide. I'm going to be talking to you today about how to build belief for yourself and how to build it for your team. Obviously one comes before the other. Full disclosure, this is a post-CrossFit video. I'm sweaty and with a huge nasty top knot. I did throw on some lip gloss for you guys. I have stashed my children watching Xbox right now and threatened them to be quiet. And I say that because I want you to know that we do this business to fit around our lives. And so a huge part of my life is exercise for mental sanity and for mood health. And so voila, this is what you get this morning. But I wanted to share with you guys about belief because it's something that I'm really passionate about. Before I got involved with Plexus, I had never heard the idea of building belief. In fact, it was one of those things where I thought, have I gotten into some sort of cult? What is this whole thing about building belief? Isn't belief something you either have or you don't have? So I'm going to make some short points today, try to keep this short and sweet, because I want you to understand what I've come to understand, which is that we do end up building our belief. Let me start with my first point, which is that building belief starts with an awareness that you need it. So I am a Christian counselor and a preacher's kid in recovery, and so I'm just going to nerd out on the Bible for you guys for just a minute. I wanted to take you to Mark chapter 9. This is a section in Scripture where Jesus is brought a young boy that is said to have a demonic spirit possessing him, heavy stuff, and the father comes and brings him to him, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And so Jesus says in verse 21, "How long has he been like this?" "From childhood," he answered. "It has often thrown him into fire or water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us." I love Jesus's response here. He's like, if I can? If I can, said Jesus, everything is possible for him who believes. Verse 24, immediately the boy's father exclaimed, "I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief." This has always been one of my favorite verses in Scripture because the father is being vulnerable and real with Jesus. He says, I do believe, and then immediately he turns right around and says, help me overcome my unbelief. Basically, I do believe, but I don't believe. I need you to help me overcome my unbelief. So I wanted to use that verse to start out today to let you guys know that you have to pray for belief. I don't know if you're a praying person. I don't know what your faith beliefs are, but I do know that I have to start my business off with prayer. I need a daily reminder, or what I sometimes call a daily remind-set, that I need God to help me overcome my unbelief. As corny as it might sound, I think that's really crucial in Plexus. You're going to have days where your belief wavers, and one of the best things to do is to pray for your business. In fact, I would say if you do nothing else but pray for your business, you'll be doing the best thing. Which leads me to number 2, which is to build your belief, you've got to look at your mindset and your self-talk. To practice a healthy mindset, you must examine your self-talk. You've got to ask yourself, what message am I ruminating on daily? So another example from Scripture is Luke 6:45. It says, "A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For," and this is the crucial part, "for the mouth speaks what the heart is full of." I love that. You know, there have been times, I'll start personally, there have been times where it was evident where my headspace was about Plexus because of what I was talking about. If I was ruminating on something negative, that was coming out in my speech, whether it was to my husband, who's usually the first person I talk to, or to my sponsor, Andrea. I want to ask you guys, what are you storing away in your heart? Because your belief will be built from your mindset. And here's a really important key. How you think about Plexus matters. So one example would be, is your belief shaken every time there's a customer complaint? Anytime you get a message about somebody having die-off or saying, I'm not sure this is working for me, is your belief shaken? What about when you message people and you don't hear anything? Do you tend to just want to give up right then? What about when there's a back office glitch or a shipping delay or a shipping mistake, or you've sat on customer service line for 45 minutes? Do these things shake your belief? Because if you begin to ruminate on them, you will struggle. Your mentality, your self-talk, your mindset, it will struggle. And here's another example from my own personal life. The desire to please everyone else will negatively affect your mindset in dangerous ways. I want to tell you guys a quick little story about myself. So I have a friend and neighbor who, right before I got into Plexus, in January of 2014. Through most of 2013, I was building a really neat friendship with this friend and neighbor who I really enjoyed. And when I started Plexus, at first, she was interested. You know, probably like a lot of your friends have been in the beginning. She was curious and she would ask me questions, and I was still figuring things out, and I hadn't really done much with it yet. And then she told me, hey, I'm really interested, ask me about it. And so I began to ask her about it, and she did sort of what I call the bait and switch. Like, she said, I'm interested, but then when I would ask her about it, she didn't want to talk about it. So I tried to be sensitive and not to pressure her. So I stopped talking to her about Plexus. And then it went so far as where she would start to send me articles, you know, hey, I think this might be dangerous what you're doing. It really wasn't actually until I began to be successful that she started to really say, I think this is harmful. She started to get outspoken, and I was so confused because she refused to look at the ingredients. So what happened for me was I realized that it was hurting my belief and my mindset because I cared so much about what she thought about me and about Plexus conversely. And I just want to remind you guys, you might have to examine some relationships in your life where you're so worried about keeping people happy with you that it damages your belief of Plexus. I actually think this happens to a lot of us. I know it's happened to me. Your why is crucial for your mindset. You need to examine your why frequently. And what I mean by that is your why is the reason that you decided to take the products, the reason that you decided to join this business. You need to know your why. You need to have it written down. But I want you to know you should come back to it often. It's not a once and done thing. Your why is going to grow and change as you grow and change. My why when I started out was just for gut health, to be able to sleep through the night, to have less digestive issues. Quickly began to transform as my business began to grow. And then definitely it's transformed through the years, especially since I recently retired from counseling. And I still own a large private practice here in Dallas that I retired from. My why had to grow and change so much. And examining it frequently will help your belief. So here's point number 3. And that is that leaders are born at events and meetings make money. So get thyself to a meeting or host a meeting, but do something, get to a meeting. You know, once you have a team, and it needs to be said that every ambassador with even just one ambassador under them has a team because you're responsible for every person you sign, then your team starts to look to your leadership in regards to events and meetings. So I consider meetings to be crucial, and I say this from experience. When I go to meetings, my belief grows. There's something about meetings that build community and they build vision. So important. I want to tell you guys about one of the first meetings that I went to. This was when I was still kind of shaky and wasn't totally sure about Plexus, even though I had signed up multiple people and had several very good friends who were already starting to work the business under me. I went to a meeting here in Dallas where I met sweet Roz Payne, who quickly became one of my favorites. Andrea had invited me, and so I knew I was going to get to go and see her, and I actually had 2 other downlines. One thing that happened was Rachel Neagle, who's my level 1, she drove all the way in from Amarillo over 6 hours to come to this meeting. So her belief was firm. She was getting her butt to a meeting. I think Michael, her husband, had her 2 children out in the parking lot, like basically, you know, eating fast food and just watching a movie in the car just so that Rachel could sit through this meeting. And what I'll never forget is I got to hear Roz's story for the first time. And I sat there kind of skeptical. And you guys, I was already doing well in the business, but it's this dumb, skeptical brain that tends to harm my belief. It's just one of my old things. So I'm sitting there listening to Roz talk, and at that time, I'm working very hard in my counseling practice, very busy every day. And Roz was just getting ready to go Emerald at this point. She shared about how for the first time ever, she was going to be able to not work during the summer and stay home with her kids and, take them on vacations. And she cried as she talked about how she'd never been able to do that before. And that affected me so deeply. Something about hearing her why, her story, I started crying, and I was so shocked by my own emotional reaction. And I came away from that meeting literally on the phone, calling my husband, calling potentials. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. That was spring of 2014, spring of this year. 2 years later, I retired, and I am now home with my children for the first time in 8 years. So there's something so important about you guys attending meetings and hearing other people's stories, and also telling your story, sharing your why. It will build your belief. And again, the community aspect is so crucial. You need to know that hosting meetings will build your confidence and your excitement. Now, again, full disclosure, I have hosted meetings where no one showed up. I'll be honest, I didn't come away from those meetings super excited, but what it did is it made me work harder at promoting a meeting, inviting potentials, so that then, yes, when I had maybe 3 people show up to a meeting, I was excited and I was ready to run with it. So there's no shame in hosting a meeting where only a few people show up. There's something awesome about sitting and hearing stories back and forth at a small meeting. And then definitely a willingness to travel when possible. Not all of you guys are able to travel, and we know that. But when your team expands and you make a willingness to travel to them, that speaks so loudly to them about your commitment to their growth. So even if it's just 30 minutes across town, or maybe you're actually going to go out of town and visit another city to support your team, guys, that's so encouraging to them. And it, again, builds your own excitement. Okay, so point number 4 is, if you want to build belief, then help people. Focus on helping your people achieve their goals, and your rank will take care of itself. I think that's originally from Jen Hawkins, who's someone that I also admire greatly in this business. When I have gotten less focused about my own rank advancement and started to reach out to my people and say, hey, what's your goal for this month? And helping them achieve those goals, my rank has naturally moved up. I've naturally built my team. It's more fun to see your downline's excitement grow, to see their own belief be built, than to rank up yourself. For some of you guys, you're just going to have to take my word for it. If that's not something that you naturally do, if it's uncomfortable for you to reach out to your downline, then that's an area you need to grow. Because conversely, your team can sense selfishness. If they think that you're reaching out and trying to help them only to benefit yourself, they will know. They can smell that a mile away. So here's just some practical tips on that. I think that small chats or small threads help. We call them income producing chats, or basically these are encouragement chats where you might put, 3 to 4 or 5 people on a chat, maybe everyone who's trying to go silver or everyone who's trying to go gold that month. And you'll start it at the beginning of the month. Hey, how are you doing? What do you need? What are your numbers? How many potentials do you have? What about this new person? Who does this new person have? And you're not peppering with questions as much as you're inviting a dialogue to happen among all the members. You don't want to slam them with information. They don't want to turn on their computer and see that they've got like 85 notifications from this chat. But what it does is, I call it the power of calling all cars. That's an old police lingo, calling all cars, calling all cars. I can't say it. That means, hey, calling everyone in. Hey, so-and-so, can you go talk to your lady? So-and-so, can you check with her? She was wanting to order, because we're trying to build this one person or several people. So there's something about these rank advancement chats. You start them at the beginning of the month, you keep them up throughout the end, and then that last week, you're really trying to encourage people. And they're encouraging each other, again, building community, building belief. Okay. 2 more points, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. Number 5 is engage with problems. I don't mean that you go looking for problems, like you're looking for a fight or you're trying to be a drama queen or a drama king. You don't go looking for trouble, but you're going to be the person who actively pursues solutions to problems. What I mean by that is that you don't just automatically go to your sponsor or to your closest jewel and say, hey, this situation happened, can you help us out? first and foremost, you're going to try to find the solution. And here's why. And I, again, am speaking personally. I was very busy at the beginning of my business, running a whole other business. And so I had Andrea Mitchell as my direct sponsor. Any of you familiar with her? She is a solution finder. She is who I call still when I'm in trouble and don't know the answer to something. But the danger there is that if I don't go find the answer for myself, then I'm actually not confident when people come and ask me questions. And so there was a season where my downline would ask me a question and I would think, I don't know how to answer this unless I talk to Andrea. And I had to grow past that. I had to go seek out solutions for my own benefit so that I would have the confidence to build my belief and to answer my team. I spent my maternity leave was last October of 2015. Those of you who were around back then remember a little something we call back office changeover. Plexus launched a whole new back office. And just as IT situations do, it created a lot of glitches and headaches. And I spent my entire maternity leave not, just snuggling a little baby, which wouldn't have happened anyway. She was a third born. It was going to be hectic no matter what. But I actually was on the phone a lot with customer service, answering a lot of questions, talking a lot to frustrated downline. And you know what was actually good about that? I'm actually grateful for that, is that it built my confidence. Got to the point where I was pushed so far beyond what I was comfortable asking that I learned so much about how the business works from the inside out. I learned where to go find answers for things. I learned how to direct my downlines, and that was crucial. And so I would encourage you guys, don't just go to the people that can answer the question right away. You go try to find answers. You engage with problems. It will build your belief. Last point, and this is probably my favorite one. To build your own belief and to help build the belief of your team, work from your strengths. I think we spend too much time, especially in network marketing, focusing on our weaknesses and comparing our weaknesses to someone else's strengths. I also think it's just sort of a natural American thing that we do. We find someone else that we can compare ourselves to, and we're pretty aware of how we don't measure up to them. It's just debilitating no matter what, whether it's a body image issue or a leadership issue or a communication issue. I would encourage you guys to define and discover your own strengths. And there's multiple ways you can do this. My very first admonition to you would be to do what I call follow the energy. Follow your energy. Whatever you're most energized for is probably an area of strengths for you. Personally, talking to people, coaching, encouraging, those things, I get a lot of energy from them. When I do a Zoom call in the evenings, I usually, I'm kind of tired. And once we go through the Zoom call, I usually come off feeling really energized, because there's something about coaching people, obviously, and part of it's just my counselor background, but it's energizing to me. It's one of my strengths. Now, if you want to see me de-energized, then bring me like a technological issue or a details issue. There are so many other people on our team, our greater team as a whole, that have some serious administration skills. One of my favorite people, Lindsay Carricker, one of my best friends, she's just great with administrative details. And she's a creative, two things I don't have. So don't reinvent the wheel. Go ask for help from someone that's gifted in an area you're not gifted in. Another way to discover your strengths is to read for personal growth. You can talk to almost any leader in Plexus, and they will have like their favorite leadership book. One of mine is actually not an MLM book, but it is a book by Brené Brown called Daring Greatly, and it's about harnessing vulnerability and letting go of shame. The counselor nerd in me loves stuff like that, but it was vast in helping me diagnose and see personal issues that I needed to grow in. I would tell you also, if you want to discover your strengths, to engage with coaching opportunities, whether it's from your sponsor or someone in your upline who is going to be able to give you honest feedback and welcome feedback. And you might need to say, hey, what are some strengths that you see in me? The other thing, I already talked about this, but avoid comparisons. They're just not going to be helpful for you. Don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to your best self. And then lastly, lean into what you're good at. I like to give Ellen Ford as an example. She's a friend of mine. She's a sideline of mine. I talk to her almost every day over chat. And she's really different from me. We have a lot of similarities in that we're goofy and we're both from pastors' families. And we're a little irreverent, but she is so gifted at recruiting. I don't know, Ellen, I have no idea. You've probably got like over 150 level ones, and I think I have less than 30. She's awesome at recruiting. She's awesome at challenging. We both are good at coaching in totally different ways. I'm like a cheerleader, like, you can do it. And she's like a go-getter, taskmaster. Have you done it? So what I love about our relationship is that we work well together because it's a balancing act. So find people that will help balance you. Find people that are good at stuff you're not good at and partner up with them. Ask for their help. Hey, can I use that PowerPoint that you did? Or, hey, how are you training your team? These kind of things will help hone your skills so that you can go into the energy and lead well in your strengths. And then the areas that you're not necessarily strong in, someone else can help balance that. That's my final point. I hope this has been beneficial, you guys. Building belief is the thing that we need to do over and over and over again. Daily, I'm spending time in the Word, letting God build my belief in Him and what He's capable of. And I need Him to do the same thing with my business because I'm totally reliant on Him for everything I'm doing here. So just want to encourage you guys. And I really appreciate you letting me talk with you today. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.